Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy Larry. And first I want to start off by saying Happy Black History Month. This is a piece, or a series of pieces that I want to do to celebrate our heroes and heroines that have laid down their life, career, and made major sacrifices over the history of the movement in our country. We've got a ways to go, but I would be remiss if I didn't set aside the time to highlight the heroes and heroines of the past and some of the things that they've done in order to bring awareness and make a way for the next generation. Today I'm focused on the outspoken nature of an actor, singer, actress, and activist by the name of Eartha Kitt. Some of you may know her from some of her many Broadway roles. A lot of Gen Xers and millennials know her from her role in Boomerang. Her song, Santa Baby, hurry down the chimney tonight. Yeah, that was Eartha. But on a more serious note, she was invited to the White House in 1968 to talk about the origins of violence in the inner city. And she had an interesting comment or question that really was off, a little bit more serious than LBJ and the First Lady wanted to talk about. So I'm going to play a piece and get into the specifics of the 1968 luncheon with Eartha Kitt and Lady Bird Johnson.
Violence has shown its face in some of our cities.
President Lyndon Johnson and the First Lady decided to host a ladies' luncheon to discuss the turmoil. One of the invited, Eartha Kitt.
And the reason she was invited is that she had been working with youth in the ghettos, and the kids talked to her.
She had a very weird reaction to being there because it looked like the white plantation house on the plantation where she was born.
The success of freeing our neighborhoods from hoodlums and fear depends upon the cooperation of all our citizens.
Lady Bird was talking about planting trees along streets, like they say, the ladies who lunch.
It's a nice, respectable lunch. And
yeah, they wanted to get together and talk about how to beautify inner city neighborhoods and instill confidence by bringing in the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts and little tea party shit like that. But Sister Eartha was about the real business. How we get down to the real stuff. All this ice over, glaze over shit that y'all doing. How do we really get to the problems that are plaguing these inner city kids and why they are resorting to crime? Let's let them finish.
And everyone sort of making polite points, and suddenly Eartha stands up.
She turned to Lady Bird and she just said, you're a mother, so what are we going to do about sending these black kids overseas to get shot?
Huh? What about them?
What about that?
There was this unbelievable silence, and then a bunch of people started freaking out.
Now you're dealing with two Southern people. You're Southerners. They're allowing you, a black person, to sit at their table.
When she arrived back at her hotel, she was astonished to discover that this incident was being spoken about already on the radio.
Suddenly, the discussion was interrupted by a fiery charge from singer Eartha Kitt.
And that she was getting death threats.
The ghettos stemmed from the war in Vietnam.
Backlash is an understatement. It was an all-out assault against her. Johnson called the FBI as well as the CIA and demanded that they find something on this woman.
Imagine that. Right? The woman asks a question. It's the main reason she's at the White House, to talk about inner city issues. Why the youth as young as 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 are feeling despair in the street, and why mothers are feeling a certain sense of angst, raising their kids up, and then their kids being drafted and sent off to what many felt at the time was a senseless war. These are the questions that she was being asked by young children in the inner cities that she's working with. Right? So if they didn't want her to answer the question or ask the questions, don't invite her up to the White House and sit around and sip tea with all the other, senators' wives and shit like that just to put on a fucking show. Nah, she wasn't there to put on a show. She was there to get down and ask the question to the nitty gritty. And LBJ, being a little bitch he is, want to try to get her banished and put the CIA on and shit like that. He didn't want to hear what was going on because he realized that the war was a machine that he built. Vietnam War escalated shortly after the death of John F. Kennedy and the taking charge of LBJ into the office. All of a sudden, we were trying to de-escalate during the JFK years, and then LBJ gets in office within a year. We're in deeper than we ever wanted to be by 1964 to 1968 in this war. She's asking the questions about his war, and it pissed him off. Man, it ain't no good. If I can get this back, start it back. I have to clip this.
It's a grim subject for a pleasant meeting like this, but I believe that everybody
the children
is increasingly
are
determined to face up to it.
Teach them well and let them lead the way. I think that's what she was about to say.
Yes.
Here come LBJ.
I think that if every mother and father would ask themselves midnight every night to where their children are, and if they knew where they were, have some concern about where they were, or did something about it, it would be helpful.
One more question. One more question.
About delinquency across the United States, which we're all interested in, and that's why we're here today. But what do we do about delinquent parents? The parents who have to go to work, for instance, who can't spend the time with their children that they should. This is, I think, is our main problem. What do we do with the children then when the parents are off working?
Well, it's Social Security bill.
Now check his demeanor. He's all leaned over the post, looking, get down at her, condescending, first of all. How dare her speak out of turn. It's a room full of women, for one. Now it's a black woman asking him questions about, what do the mothers do who can't, get the kids at the school. And all the things that he said I think if we all just did all these simple ass answers that are more difficult when you dealing with inner city, they simple in his neck of the woods.
Just passed this year sets up millions and millions of dollars for daycare centers, whether it's contiguous in this work. That's one step that we're taking. And that comes from, that's approved by a bunch of men who are really not the best judges of how to handle children otherwise. I think that'd be a very good question for you to ask yourself, and other women here, and you all tell me what you think.
Ask the other women, y'all tell me what you think. Shunned by the other guests, the White House car that was supposed to take her back to the hotel all of a sudden fucking disappears. And all her stateside engagements find a way of getting canceled. It's because this 1975 dossier that smeared her throughout much of her career in the United States.
They framed you.
But it sure in hell did.
Back.
And as a result, it...
On the war in Vietnam. Well, to say that Eartha Kitt is back in business would almost imply that you were out of the business, but it's also the title of your first American recorded album in 25 years.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Where you been? Where you been hiding?
I've been here and there and everywhere. Yes, I've been working, but you just didn't hear about it.
Right. Why was that?
Well, I wasn't working as prevalently as I used to in America because of the incident with President Johnson, because I was against our involvement in Vietnam.
Right.
And as a request of theirs, going to the White House and giving my opinions at their request, I was thrown out of work in the United States.
That was 1968, right? You went to a luncheon and pretty much stood up and read the President the Riot Act about...
Because I was asked to.
Right.
I was not there to sing songs. So on my dossier, my CIA dossier, that says...
Oh, you have one?
It says I'm a sadistic sex nymphomaniac, darling. I think I missed a page there somewhere, but anyway. And
Would you want to frame something like that? I mean, that's...
As a matter of fact, I was going through my things in my desk just yesterday, and I came across the letter that Jack Anderson wrote me. It said, "These are your files that we found in the CIA dossier." This is only a smidgen of it. And I'm framing everything that I was given
you know what the hell
that had to do with the CIA.
They framed you.
But it sure in hell did.
Back.
And as a result, on the bottom of the CIA dossier, it says, specifically requested by Lady Bird and President Johnson, deface me in the United States so that I would be not seen, and therefore I'm out of work.
Eartha, a lot of people spoke out against the war, especially people in the entertainment industry, but why did they single out you? Well, you seem to have suffered
But I was the
most.
first one who did it in the White House. And I was asked my opinions about the problems among the young people of America at that time. That was the question of the luncheon. And 50 of us ladies who work in the different communities across America, and me, and so also in foreign countries, like with the Aborigines in Australia and the Canadian Indians, I'm working with these people all the time. And therefore, I know what their feelings are. And when they ask the question about what is the basic problem, and you tell them, you find they don't want to hear that. They want to hear, how are we doing? Am I getting a good credit for putting flowers along Route 66, you know? Not the real problems. And this is also one of the things I feel about what is going on now. As I told Mrs. Johnson at the luncheon, this was not a point of getting up and ranting and raving. I'm talking to her as I'm talking to you. The point that we're going through now is that they do not realize how much anger there is among the American people.
When did you first realize that you had a problem after that incident in the White House? How long did it take for the repercussions to set in?
1974. I still didn't know what was happening, except I thought, what reason could there have been for me not being asked to return to the same venues that I had been working in, because I had never worked in a place that I can remember that did not have a return engagement. And when I was not asked to return, even though it said so on my contract, I thought, what is going on? Maybe my popularity is waning and so forth. That does happen. And I started to begin to realize that maybe it is waning and I have to face that, you know. And then when Seymour Hersh called me in 1974, January, and said, this is what we found, that President Johnson has decided that you should not be seen anywhere, and that therefore that's why you're having a hard time getting work.
So they kept that quiet for pretty much 6 years.
That problem is, who knew when the anti-American problem was going on, and the writers and the thinking people and the high personalities and the creative people were being sought after to claim, or they were claiming that they were communists or something like this. And when they couldn't find anything on you, they just deface you and make you a very unpopular name in the eye of the public and in the minds of the public. And nothing has changed that. They're still doing it. If they want to get rid of you, they'll find a way to get rid of you, and the best way to do it is to go interviewing the people whom you've worked with, just as they did with the Anti-American Committee. I was shocked when I came back to America in 1952 and saw this was going on. I said, my wonderful country, this kind of thing is happening to us. We fought a war against things like this with the Germans, and I was a child when this was happening, but that's not supposed to happen. We're not supposed to be afraid of our government. And so that was in 1950-something. And then this happened to me in 1970-something. I still can't believe it. And you never know if it is still going on, because my side of the story was never really told. What was I going to do? Apologize, which they wanted me to do. The news media wanted me to do that. And I said, I think they should apologize to the American people, because they know we should not be involved in that war. And now that McNamara, who was the Secretary of Defense at that time, has come out with his book to say, in essence, Eartha Kitt was right.
Vindication.
Vindication, but I lost all of those lucrative
I was going to say,
years.
look at how many years. What, almost 25 years.
Yes, and I don't understand how someone like this, the man who had the fate of the young boys of this country in the palm of his hand, and he was afraid, he didn't have enough guts to say, I'm sorry, but morally, whatever it is, we're not supposed to, we shouldn't be there.
Do you
we're
accept
just killing our boys for no reason at all.
Do you pretty much accept his apology, or are you confused by it, or?
I'm confused by the fact that he didn't have enough guts to say it at the time. Even if he had lost his job, which I lost my job,
right.
I still did it. I didn't know I was going to lose my
Right.
job, because I didn't think that this would come to
Because you were told
us.
to, basically to come and speak what's on your mind.
That's
you didn't,
right.
You didn't
Exactly.
expect to be punished.
That's
for,
right. So you get
speaking
punished
the
for
truth.
telling the truth.
Now, you mentioned that when you came back to this country. Well, ever since she recorded the song C'est Si Bon in 1954, Eartha Kitt has been a world-class star. But it wasn't until the mid-19